Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant chapter 2 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, verses 51 to 55.
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम् यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च श्रुतिविप्रतिपन्ना ते यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि। अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव स्थितधीं किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते।
In verse number 48 of this chapter, he said, Samatvam Yogam Uchyate. And the last shloka that we have seen is verse number 50, where he says, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. So, yoga is balance of the mind, Samatvam, and yoga is skillful action. He says so in these two shlokas. So, in other words, when you have risen above your desires and keep your mind calm, then you will be able to do your actions skillfully. So when you are in a state of yoga, which means what? The mind directed towards the higher. Here we are talking about karma yoga. So he's talking about when you keep your mind in karma yoga, directing the mind in karma yoga using the buddhi and engaging the actions in the spirit of karma yoga, then your mind will be balanced, calm, composed, serene. Such a mind is able to direct the actions in the proper way with no worries or anxiety. Skillfully, you perform the action and achieve the result. Now, achieving the result is not the main idea here. When he says, Kaushalam Karma, what is good for you? What is Shreya for you? What is Shreya for everyone? Is to rise above the vasanas, is to rise above the desires. What stands in between the individual and the divinity within, we have seen before, is what? The desires. So, God plus desires equals human beings. Human beings minus desires equals God. Minus desires in the sense you got to rise above the desires. By realizing your true nature, when you become one with divinity, you will have absolutely no desire whatsoever. You will achieve a state of paripurnatvam. All this we have studied in the past. So as you direct your mind towards the higher, it becomes more and more calm. First of all, when you give a direction to your mind itself, it becomes balanced. You get the example of a person who walks on the rope. The person has no interest in tilting towards the left, nor interest tilting towards the right. They use a stick to balance themselves, sometimes maybe tilting on the left, sometimes tilting towards the right. But their interest is not this side or that side. They are very much focused. The fact that they are focused, they are able to balance. Exactly, to understand balance, we need to understand that when we pitch up a goal, when you give a direction to your mind, it becomes balanced. Without direction, mind wanders in all directions. It per se by itself lacks direction or dimension. Eknath Ishwaranji gives a very interesting example. He says, in Kerala, state of Kerala, you have a lot of elephants there. And the streets are small streets, some of them. And on either side of the streets, they have these small shops selling all kinds of things, especially bananas. And huge bunch of bananas are hanging. And when the elephants walk in that road, their trunk is swinging. And when the trunk swings to the left, from the shop on the left side, it holds the full bunch of bananas and eats it. Grabs the full bunch of banana and eats it. And on the right side, again, another shop, full bunch of bananas it can hold and then grab it and eat it. So to control the trunk of the elephant, which is swinging, the mahout gives a small stick. When the stick is given to the elephant, the trunk folds, when the trunk holds the stick, it rolls and straightens up. Then it doesn't swing this side or that side. Similarly, our mind needs direction. Now, when we say direction, we should understand one thing in life. It is not the object of desire. Okay, something I want to, get name, fame, power, positions. Such things cannot become a goal. This is what Vedanta says. Why? Because it is actually just giving some target for the mind. The desire for that object is there. So you are chasing that. So when you do that, it goes in different directions. It wants more. The same desire can multiply, intensify, and new desires can be formed. So you lose focus. And if something is coming in between you achieving the goal or the desire, fulfilling the desire, you get agitated. So it won't bring the calmness or balance when you're chasing a desire. It is much better state chasing a desire compared to remaining tamasic, lazy, lethargic, doing nothing. You understand? Simply philosophizing, what is there in money? What is there in name? A lot of people who sit and philosophize. That is why Swami Vivekananda got fed up and said, you fellows better off going and playing football. He said, go play football. In the sense, you should not fall into tamas. You should rise to rajas, but not stay put there. From rajas, you got to go to sattva. That's the discussion here. So when will the mind become balanced? When you are not giving into your egocentric desires and not functioning with egoistic attitude. So therefore, in Karma Yoga, these two things are handled. You give a goal which is beyond your selfish, self-centered interest. So then it's not just merely fulfilling the desires. At the same time, it's not against fulfilling the desires. Because once you have given a higher direction, something beyond your selfish, self-centered interest, the mind is not attached to the ego thereafter. What will I get? What will I get? Me, mine. So the multiplication, intensification, all this reduces. Mind becomes more balanced. You're able to function properly. Then you will be able to achieve the desires, many desires, through that as a byproduct. So therefore, balance comes when you focus on a higher purpose, higher goal, something beyond your selfish, self-centered interests. Ultimate goal is the goal of self-realization. But that not everybody is able to straight away focus on. Therefore, you pitch up something higher. A family maybe, or working for a country, community or country, or working for the entire humanity or all the species, etc. So thus, when you pitch up a higher goal using the intellect, mind surrenders to that goal, body acts in that direction, you will be balanced. That integration brings the balance. That's called yoga, he says. Samatvam yogam uchyate. And a person who is balanced within is able to act properly, not thinking about the object of the desire while acting. Therefore, the vasanas don't increase. You are not even thinking about it, the intensity reduces, and the vasana reduces to fulfill the object also. This is what he means by saying skillful in action. Samatvam yoga muchyate, yoga karmasu kaushalam. So when he says yoga karmasu kaushalam, skillful in action doesn't mean skillfully stealing a bank. You understand? It's not skillfully doing a scam. Not of that kind of skill. That is a different thing. But you lose the peace of mind there. Here you gain the peace of mind. You drop the vasanas. You are also fulfilling the material desires, but at the same time, you are very, very skillfully reducing the desires. You go beyond good and bad. In the sense, beyond good vasanas and beyond negative vasanas. Neither do you have unselfish vasanas, nor do you create selfish vasanas. You are dropping vasanas. You are in the, you are progressing towards the divinity within. Therefore, he calls it as yoga karmasu kaushalam. This kaushalam karma means skillful action, means dropping of the desires and simultaneously fulfilling the desires. The mind rises. You're living in the world. It's an art. You are living amidst the objects of the world. You have not dropped anything and gone to Himalayas, not gone to Varanasi. You are living very much in the world. You are contacting the world. But now your desires are not propelling you. You are having a goal beyond your selfish, self-centered interests. Intellect is directing your mind and body towards that. You're not thinking about the results. As a result, you drop the vasanas. And since you very calmly, with composure, acted in the present, you will achieve the goal. And with that, you will be able to fulfill your desires also. So no loss whatsoever, materially and spiritually. There is both material gain as well as spiritual gain. This is what he calls as yoga karmasu kaushalam. This is what we call as karma yoga. So when you function in the spirit of karma yoga, you will achieve spiritual evolution and material success as well. This is what we keep saying. You will be able to combine both peace and prosperity, peace and success. One set of people are very successful, but by their own admission, they are not peaceful. Another set of people, they are peaceful, but they are not successful, materially prosperous. How to combine both? This is what you will achieve when you practice karma yoga. So karma yoga will help you to evolve spiritually and enjoy materially. This is what you can call as practical Vedanta. Please understand. A lot of people say, "Arey, Vedanta is not practical at all, Baba. All this is very, very impractical stuff." What he is talking now is extremely practical. Arjuna was impractical. He was wishing that, if he says, "I'm resigning from the war, I'm not going to fight," he thought that Duryodhana will say, okay, let us call it off and then let's have a discussion. And you take this much, I will take this much. Nothing like that is going to happen. You got to face your challenges. You cannot run away. But there is a method in the madness. How you face your challenge matters a lot. So therefore, before you plunge into external battle, win the internal battle. First, make your mind calm. This is the most important prerequisite. So therefore, he says, first be balanced. For that, what you have to do? Using your buddhi, pitch up the goal. In Vedanta, when we say goal, something beyond selfish, self-centered interest. Please remember this. And not goal doesn't mean, I want to buy a car, I want to buy a bungalow. Vedanta is not against all this. But that's not the goal. That can be a byproduct. And in fact, if you function in the spirit of Karma Yoga, it will be a byproduct. And your mind would have risen above that. You will understand that it is only useful from the transaction point of view. Beyond that, it has no value. So you will have the right value for it. You will not have an exaggerated value for it. And this, he says in the next few shlokas, 51, 52, 53. He's going to talk about this. How the mind slowly evolves beyond the material interests and develops interest towards the Atma more and more. And the person goes more in that direction and ultimately merges with the divinity and becomes enlightened. This is the thought flow in 51, 52, 53. Now let's chant verse number 51.
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्.
The wise united to knowledge. Buddhi yuktahi, indeed, united to knowledge. The wise person, manishinaha. Manishinaha means wise people, wise person. The wise, what do? They are uniting the buddhi with the higher knowledge. The sense, whatever direction the scriptures have given, whatever they have reflected upon the scripture and they have got the understanding, they direct the mind towards the higher, united with the higher knowledge, spirit, Atma. Renouncing the fruit of action, phalam tyaktva. Renouncing the fruit of action, not renouncing the action. Now, if you understand this, you will never blame Vedanta or Bhagavad Gita for inaction. You will never say Vedanta will make you inactive. Vedanta will take you away from action. It's not possible. Only if you don't understand these things, you will become lazy. So therefore, what does he say? Renouncing the fruit of action, phalam tyaktva manishinaha, the wise person. Wise person is different from just informed person. A person who reads Bhagavad Gita every day may not necessarily be wise. Maybe, may not be. But if you are wise, you will choose the higher, not the lower. You will be united with the higher, not the lower. You will be functioning in the spirit of Karma Yoga. If you are not united to the self, then what are you united to? You are united to the objects of the desire. You understand? You are united to the objects of the desire. So therefore, unwise people are united to the world. Wise people are united to the Atma. When the idea is, why wise? Because they get both. Wise person gets both. Unwise, in the hope of getting the lower, doesn't get that also. Because you'll be agitated. Tremendous efforts, but left with a lot of agitation. So therefore he says, the wise, united to knowledge, renouncing the fruit of action. What is the benefit they get by renouncing the fruit? They get bigger fruit. What is that? Moksha, liberation. So he says, they get liberated from the bond of birth. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha. They become liberated from the bond of birth. What is this bond of birth? We need to understand that. And having gone beyond the bond of birth, they reach the state beyond evil, he says. Indeed, reach the state beyond evil. So what is evil? Spiritually, the word evil means only one. What? Vasanas, desires. Because that's what keeps you in a state of finite. So what is the enemy in spiritual field? Desire. Vasanas, evil. So when he says you will become free from the bond of birth, Janma Bandha. What is binding you to birth? Your vasanas. You have vasana to study Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, you are bound to this classroom now. Later on, your vasanas change and you will be bound to something else. So, your birth is caused by your vasanas. So, the chronology of action we need to understand. We have studied this before. The chronology of action says, from the vasanas come thoughts. From thoughts come desires. From desires come actions. And if your actions are propelled by desires, then those actions will further produce vasanas. This is called bondage. It becomes a closed circuit. Vasana, thought, desire, action, and again vasana. So then it becomes a closed circuit. Vasana, thought, desire, action, and vasana again. It goes on and on and on. You had a vasana to attend Vedanta class. So you come in, log into this class. Then you see some of your colleagues whose video is also on. Let's say they have a background on the wall, some nice painting. You see that and you develop vasana for painting also. You never know. Right? You go on increasing vasanas in many different ways. From morning till night. Not knowing the art of right contact. Not knowing how to function in the spirit of karma yoga. Instead of getting liberated, you pick up more vasana. Because what are you doing? A whole life is simply to gather intelligence by going to schools and colleges and then use the intelligence to fulfill the desire. That's all. Convert your physical energy coupled with your intelligence and transform it into some material, car, bike, house, a club membership. Pata nahi kya kya. You understand? So all that we are doing is what? Using the intelligence, converting our physical energy to some other physical form. Hoping. There is nothing wrong. It doesn't end there. Why are we doing this? When you question that, why are we doing this? In the hope of getting the security. Isn't it? We think, okay, if I have a house, I'll get security. If I want much better security, I need to have a house in that particular area. Then in that particular area, particular road. Then that particular road, minimum 5 to 7 bedrooms hona chahiye. 4 or 5 cars has to be there, etc., etc. So all our life is consumed merely in transforming our physical energy to some other physical object. That's all. And in the hope of getting security. But now, after building all this, it takes about 40 years, no? To build all this. By the time your children have now become 30, 35. Now they say, listen, I have grown up in this house. Now, I'm getting married. My children are going to come. This house is not enough. So you fellows get out. You understand? Not really speaking. We don't want to be so pessimistic. But practically speaking, they want. This is how mind functions. So the very house you thought that will give you security is now become a source of insecurity. Hey, Baba, will you take it away? The very son, daughter, everybody kind of becomes a competitor for you. You understand? You start feeling insecure if your mind is still in the world. That's why in the Vedantic lifestyle, what they said is, instead of just gaining the intelligence about the worldly objects, material science alone, gain the knowledge of the self also, and live in the Grahastha Ashrama in the spirit of Karma Yoga. Then, as you are converting like anybody else, slowly, if you're functioning in the spirit of Karma Yoga, your mind also would be gone beyond. It's not thereafter attached to these material objects. So then you know, okay, my children have to now still grow up. So they need these toys. I've had my time. I played with these toys for a while. Now let them keep it. You won't feel insecure anymore. But most of the time when you function like this, the children growing up in such an environment, they are not competing for your property anymore. They also kind of get that security, secure feeling because the way you live. So therefore, your mind moves in the higher direction. That's called Vanaprastha stage. That's the next stage. So by the time we are like 50, 55, 60, our mind should have moved to that Vanaprastha stage. From Brahmacharya student stage, you come to Grahastha stage, married life stage. Then about 30, 40 years ke baad, the mind has to move slowly towards the Vanaprastha stage. That means you are growing properly. That means you are living your life properly. You understood that these things cannot give me security. Something that is inherently transient, fleeting, passing, how can that give me security? They cannot. So they are useful for transactional purpose. So use it for transactional purpose. That's it. And now, when my desire is reduced in the worldly direction, earlier maybe I need to go to movie every Friday. Now I don't have to. Earlier maybe I needed to go to the clubs every day, and now I don't. I'm comfortable sitting and doing my sadhana at home, studying, reflecting. My needs have become less. Then what happens? That many cars are not needed. Many samsars also reduce. Automatically it happens. This is called Vanaprastha stage. All those things let them use. So you're not feeling any more insecure. This is called Vanaprastha stage, where your mind starts getting established more and more in the higher direction. Renunciation. This is what is called as renunciation or sannyas. You understand? So therefore he says, you break the bond of birth. Bond of birth is the vasanas. From within, the dirt called vasanas drop. The more and more vasanas reduce, you feel very nice, very light. See, every time Diwali comes, in everywhere it is like that, but especially in Delhi, I'm saying, every house they clean and paint. A lot of unwanted stuff that they've been somehow hoarding goes away also during that time. Once you do the painting, automatically you'll see, Arey Baba, why is this? So many years it's been here. Okay, throw it. Or give it to somebody else who will use it. You'll suddenly feel the same house, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, become very spacious. So the problem is not the house. The problem is your hoarding tendency. The problem is not your world. It's your hoarding tendency. You understand? That is what is binding you. What binds you is your hoarding nature. There's a very interesting quotation. Swamiji often quotes it. I don't know whose quotation it is. Where wealth accumulates, men decay. Men decay means women also decay. Human beings. It's not only men. He says men decay, but everybody decays. He says where wealth accumulates. So it doesn't mean that if you become wealthy and rich, you will decay. No. If you are having the nature of hoarding, then you are developing more vasanas. Obviously, it will be foul smell in your life. So therefore, he says, this person who's wise, he chooses knowledge. Knowledge means Atma, the self, not the world, objects of desires. It's very interesting. And to be able to choose that, you need to be a thinker, learned person. With the help of scriptures, if you're not an independent thinker, mostly we need some help or the other. So when you listen to the scriptures, they explain to you all this. There's an option of running after your desires and trying to fulfill. You fulfill one, then 10 more comes, you run like this. That's one option. Other option is you fix a goal, work towards it. Whatever comes with that, you fulfill your desires. Which one you want to choose? You choose this, these are the consequences. You choose that, those are the consequences. Which one you want to choose? So he says the wise one chooses the first one, which is what? Functioning on a higher goal and fulfilling the object of the desire as a byproduct. Such a person drops the vasanas. And when you drop the vasanas, the bond of birth. Remember this. Our way of thinking and the wise people thinking are completely different. We are all afraid of death. Wise people are afraid of birth. This you must understand. All of us are afraid of death. But wise people are not afraid of death. They are afraid of birth. Now, everything is like this. I just gave one example. Everything is like this. We are not afraid of starting some new samsara. At the age of 60, 65, 70, 80, body is also not cooperating. There are people wanting to start a new samsara. No understanding about Swadharma, nothing. See, I used to lecture in Middle East before. So many people who used to work there, they've left their families for so many years. They have been working. Many times what happens is they don't get the visa for the entire family. Or for whatever reasons, maybe the parents or elderly parents are here, in-laws are here, so the wife and children are staying in India. They are working there. He comes once a year or once in 2 years to be with the family, but keep sending money. They all get educated here. They're living here. Like that, they save money. They worked hard and they've saved money in 30, 40 years of living there. Hard-earned money. And some of them who have been attending our sessions, sometimes they come and have a discussion with us. Now I'm going to retire. I'm now 65. I think engineers can work only up to 65 days, something like that. So after that, they retire. So now I want to go back and start some business. One gentleman spoke to me. He said he wanted to start Pizza Hut. Need the franchise. I was listening to him, but I know him in the sense he's been attending our sessions for almost 15 years or so there. So I know him. He said, okay, you want to start Pizza Hut? Okay. Then he said, I don't know whether it's correct. I'm thinking like this. I'm going to go and invest my money in starting this franchise. He has absolutely zero business acumen. All along he's worked in service field. He's not having that business acumen. Now he hard-earned money. Now he wants to go and start one new business. And many people lose it. I'm not saying you should not go and start. But have you taken your Swadharma into account? Have you taken many other things into account? No. No analysis, nothing. So, some people don't even tell us. They straight, I'm not saying they should come and tell me personally. What I mean to say is they don't think. They just simply plunge. New samsar shuru karne, they start. New samsar they'll start. No fear whatsoever. wise person will think twice. One of the qualities of a wise person in the Gita, he says later on in the chapter, Sarva Aramba Parityagi. One who, what is saying? Sarva means all. Aramba means beginning, starting. Parityagi, one who renounces all startings, all beginnings, means he doesn't start anything. Literal meaning, when you go deeper, what it means is one who doesn't have the notion that he started anything. Also, that person is very careful about starting a new samsara. That's why I said wise people are afraid of birth. We are all afraid of death. That which is born will have to die. So their question is, why should it be born only first of all? How to stop that? That is the vasanas. So they work on that. The bond of action is nothing but vasanas. So their whole focus is reduction of vasanas. It's a very interesting story of Jaya Vijaya. Many of us know this story. Jaya Vijaya, they were the gatekeepers of Mahavishnu, Lord Vishnu. And one day, when Muni came there, before that, Lord Vishnu apparently said, don't allow anybody inside. I'm going to rest. Don't allow anybody inside for a few hours, whoever it is. So this sage came wanting to meet Mahavishnu. They said, no, you can't enter. So he became very furious and he cursed them. Said, you guys will be born in the Bhuloka, in the world, for several janmas. And then, by the time Lord Vishnu came out, I only told them, now you've cursed them unnecessarily. He said, I have done that now. I can't take it back. It will have to happen. They'll have to go to the world and be born for few janmas. But I can give them options now. What? Either you can be born 3 janmas as great enemies of the Lord, or 100 janmas in the world as great bhaktas, devotees of the Lord. Which one you want? Both Jaya and Vijaya, they took 3 janmas, deadliest enemies of God. The God said, okay, I will come and release you. What the story says, Purana. So they were apparently born as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. And then Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And then comes Kamsa and Chanura. Or Shishupala, one of them. So all these are stories, but what are they trying to tell us? They're trying to tell you, get back to the self as soon as possible. Don't waste your time. You've got a fascinating opportunity being born as a human being with this subtle intellect. You can conceive of all this. Only human beings have these kind of discussions, no? Atma, Brahman and all that. So therefore, you have the potential to get back to the self. Don't waste it in these frivolous things. It's a very, very interesting story. Not story, a song. It's called Siddhar Padal in Tamil. It says, Nandavanatilo Randi, Avan Nangaru Madamai Kuyavanai Vendi, Kundu Vandan Oru Tondi, Adai Kutadi Potudai Tandi, Nandavanatilo Randi. Andi is referring to you and me only. Nandavanam means this garden of beautiful world, So we are born in this world. Nangaru Madamai Kuyavane Vendi. Kuyavan means a potter, pot maker. Pot maker refers to God. With so many past efforts, we have got this human janma. By God's grace, we've got this human janma. Nangaru Madamai Kuyavane Vendu Kondi Vandan Oru Tondi. Kondu Vandan Oru Tondi means this body. Then he says, Kutadi Kutadi Pot Udai Tandi. Means, Kutadi Kutadi means indulging in the world, simply living to merely fulfill the worldly desires per se. Remember, simply living in the world to merely fulfill the worldly desires per se is what I'm saying. Nothing wrong in worldly desires, but it should not be per se for that alone. You had your time, but you have to shift your mind towards the higher. Otherwise, you're wasting the potential of this human birth. So, human birth has the potential of breaking this bond. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Adi Shankara says in Bhajagovinda. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Chatere Shayanam. Iha samsare bahudustare. Kripaya pare pahi murare. When will we get out of this same routine mechanical thing? We are not fed up. Someday it should occur to us spiritually. So therefore, he says liberated. Once you choose the higher, the lower is added in that. They enjoy the world. At the same time, they break the chain of vasana action, vasana, and they break the bond. And what happens? They go beyond the state of evil. Evil means vasanas spiritually. It's because of the vasanas we do all kinds of things. Isn't it? If the vasanas were not there, you would have not done it. Can be good, it can be bad vasanas, doesn't matter. I think good in the sense from a relative point of view. So therefore, indeed reach the state beyond evil, beyond vasanas, beyond mental agitations. When you give into your vasanas, give into your desires, whether you fulfill or you don't fulfill, you will have agitations. Because if you fulfill, you will have more vasanas coming, which will cause agitation. Or if you have not fulfilled, unfulfilled desires cause agitations. You are in the process of fulfilling, whether or not you will fulfill, that thought will come and agitate you. So, in other words, you will remain agitated if you are pursuing vasanas, if you are pursuing desires. Hence, it's called evil. So, the person who chooses karma yoga lifestyle goes beyond vasanas and gets liberated, absolutely free. That's what it means. It's liberated from the bond of birth. Thereafter, the person do not identify with this body anymore. That is also another meaning. Liberated from the bond of birth means what? You identify with this body. Now, the funny thing is, we all celebrate our birthday on the day we are born in this world, not the day we are conceived. Literally speaking, when are you born?
The day you were conceived.
Is it the day you are conceived? And now if I go back, is it the day your parents had the urge to produce you? If you go back like that, which is your real birthday?
On the day you were conceived.
That's what I'm saying. You have to, this is not to get an answer I'm discussing here. The moment you start thinking like this attachment to this body, that is what is born. When the body is born, you are not born. You are only born in this room through this body. You were there before also. You are always there. So you get liberated from this binding thought. That's what we need to understand. See, okay, you will drop the vasanas, you will not have a more janma. All this is correct only, but it's okay. Keep that aside. But more practically, if you see, this binding thought, what is that? This attachment to this body, this attachment to this ego, that is what is binding us, na? So you become liberated from that binding thought. That is more important from the practical point of view. I'm this body, I'm born on so and so date. I want to save this body. Somehow I don't want any problem. I hope there will minimum be 50 people attending my funeral. All kinds of thoughts. What is the reason? Go deeper and see what is it. It is the association with this body. So that's what he say. They get liberated from the bond of birth. The thought that I am this body, which is what is born, which is what is manifested. But the reality is always existing. It has not come into manifestation. It is not something that goes into unmanifestation. It always remains, exists. You are that existence principle. Every one of us are that existence principle. So when I get established in that knowledge, united to that knowledge, then my attachment to the body and all the things that has come through the body, this car, bungalow, everything has come through the body effort. Either you worked and got it, or you got it because you're born to so-and-so parents. You've inherited. So all those objects, and then the beings that produce through you, your parents who produce this body, all those attachments you become free from. That's what it means. The moment you become free from all these attachments, you become instantly free from evil, all agitations. So you suddenly feel very light. See, there is something called as external luggage, and there is something called as internal inherent luggage. External luggage can be less or more, but the internal luggage, what is that? That I am the bearer of this luggage. I am carrying this luggage. That I-ness, that minus, that is what is causing you bondage, stress and strain. So the wise people, they get united to the knowledge. What? Forget about Atma Brahman temporarily. Just look at it from the broader picture. Now, when you say, this is my son, this is my daughter, why do you say so? Because you say the egg is mine, the sperm is mine. That's why you say that this is my son, my daughter. Now, you could have not produced that sperm or egg without the food you digested. The food came from where? From the earth. Who worked for it? The farmers have worked for it. They could have not produced it without the sun and the moon contributing for it. The minerals and everything in the soil contributing for it. So now, what we are calling as my son, my daughter, actually has come from all these sources.
They are calling him.
The macrocosm, from that only this microcosm, which is a part, has come. Correct? So now, once I understand that, once I gain that knowledge, united to that knowledge, what happens? I become free from my attachments. When I function in this world, I don't function for me and my fruits. I don't function. Simply contribute. Thereby what happens? I become free from the bond of birth. All this wrong understanding about birth, which has been causing all this confusion and bondage and stress. Please think about this. When I become free, then I will have no agitations whatsoever. That has got nothing to do with more material comfort or less material comfort. In spite of it, world cannot agitate me. I become free from all agitations. When will this happen? When I'm united to knowledge. 24/7. When my every step of action in this world is determined by this higher knowledge. That this is mine, that is mine. I don't claim it as mine. Then I won't merely be working for me. When everything belongs to totality, I am part of the totality, you are part of the totality, everything is part of the totality. For what fruit I will work for myself? You understand? So the moment that understanding comes, what is happening? The full focus has been on me, 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 me. Now the scriptures shift the attention towards the total. The wise person simply shifts the attention from the small I towards the big I, towards the total. Once that happens, then nothing affects you. You become free from the bond of birth. Bond of birth means the thought that you are born and you are this individual. And the moment more and more you have these thoughts, and everybody else also reiterates that, and you buy that more and more, and you consolidate yourself in that kind of an understanding, then obviously you will be in terrible, terrible bondage. So, in other words, why I'm mentioning this here? Because this concept of Jivan Mukti has to be understood correctly. Mukti, a lot of people think it is something that you get after a long time. You leave this body and then get Mukti, Moksha. You go and merge with divinity, God somewhere. All kinds of concepts people have. Mukti here and now. When anything is promised for you in future, if you are unwise, you will take it. If you are wise, you will say, get lost. There are people mortgaging their present for the so-called better future. Mortgaging their life. So, the thing is, if moksha is something that you will get after this birth, after this death, what moksha is it? Who is going to experience it? What? If I have to experience it right now, here it is worth it, no? So that is the moksha he's talking about. You will here and now, right now, you will become free, instantly free. That's what I said. One is external luggage, other is internal luggage. The internal luggage you can drop, and external luggage thereafter doesn't bother you. Whatever responsibilities it may be, as a father, as a mother, as a guru, as whatever role you play in the society, whatever it may be, it doesn't strain you anymore. Once you've got this, that is why he says, unite yourself to this knowledge. While your faculties are functioning fine, spend your time in grasping this knowledge, in digesting these thoughts that has been presented in the scriptures. Independently. Think about it originally and reflect upon it and then digest those thoughts. Then, here and now, right now, you can function liberated, free. Success, failure, joy, sorrow, honor, dishonor, censure, praise, all this cannot bind you anymore. What is that fellow thinking about me? What is this fellow thinking about me? Is there going to be war between Israel and Iran going to continue? Or will it stop now that Trump has come? Since President Trump has come, people are concerned about what is going to happen to Russian war, Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Iran war. Well, it's good for everybody if it stops. But to allow that to disturb you mentally, that's what we are discussing. It is always better that there is no war. And wherever it is, it's madness. We are not animals. We are human beings. As much as possible, we should amicably sort out things. Not escalate it to the level of war. Nobody likes it. There's tremendous loss. And today's context, this kind of wars that they wage with each other, against each other. So many children and innocent people dying. and claiming victory. Whoever is winning, is that victory? Honestly speaking, what kind of victory is that? So, therefore, winning or losing, war is total loss. So, whatever may be, you should be liberated. Nothing should bind you. Is that state possible? Very much possible. That's what he's saying. For that, you have to use karma yoga and live. When you function, when you execute karma as yoga, as mentioned here, then you will achieve a mind which becomes free. You will reach that state. Thereafter, these things, you become liberated from the bond of birth. That identification with this body completely drops. Once that drops, no fear. You go and find out what is causing fear. The sense of separateness is what is causing fear. The sense of separateness goes, no fear. So what is causing the sense of separateness? Identification with the body, which projects this individuality. Then the sense of separateness comes. Then you get afraid looking at other fellows. Oh my God, whether this fellow will take it away or that fellow will take it away. Who's going to be my enemy? Who's going to be my friend? Will the friend always remain a friend? When will it turn into a foe? All these things come and bother you. The moment you drop that attachment, none of these bother you thereafter. You become absolutely liberated. While living here and now, right now, that liberation is more powerful than the liberation promised after death. This is the concept of Jivan Mukta by Adi Shankaracharya. You can be liberated right now, here. There's another concept called Videha Mukti, after death. But this is right now you are liberated. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.